So I'll be talking about nice guy syndrome, what it is and what it isn't. Taken from Robert Glover's No More Mr. Nice Guy. So, in explaining what it is, I first want to talk about some misconceptions that would typically be had with the idea of niceness or being a nice guy or whatever way you might describe it. And the first one, and most obvious, is the idea that being nice is the same as politeness. And that is an understandable association, of course, but that's not what I'm talking about here. The issue with politeness is that essentially anybody can do it. It's a behavior, it's not a character trait. Um, and the reason I say that is because somebody who is a psychopath could be polite in a certain situation where it suits them. In fact, many psychopaths, famous psychopaths, have been known as being very polite and charming. Um, Although you could also be a very empathetic, compassionate person and be polite for that reason. You could be a very courageous person and be polite, but you could also be a coward and be polite in that particular scenario that allows it. So it's for that reason that I say it's not a trait that you develop as something that's part of your personality. It is simply a behavior. And this is the problem um, that emerges with elevating politeness to being a virtue, something to aspire to, something to develop your character around. And of course, in our culture today, many children, many men are brought up to be polite, and that is something to be as an adult. And I think it is often something associated with bringing up men in the right way, to not be the toxic men or the bad men or violent men or anything like that, and that this will be an antidote to that. However, I'm going to act against that and say that nice guy syndrome is associated with believing, first of all, that politeness is a virtue, and asking yourself the question, what can I do or what can I be to please other people? Now, the issue with that is that despite what a nice guy does, despite what he believes about himself, and presents the appearance that he doesn't have selfish wants, he only wants the best for other people, the problem is he still has needs and wants of his own. And nothing's going to change that. It will always be the case that he has needs and wants of his own. Because he is an adult, he is a man. And this isn't a problem when you're a child and you're brought up to be polite and pleasing, because other people look after your needs. And you also don't have adult needs. You simply have your childish needs that other people are happy to meet, namely your parents. The issue, however, is that we then transfer to adulthood and the emergence of adult needs, which are much more complex than the fact that other people aren't going to meet them. And these just include simple emotional needs, the needs for self-respect, the need for respect from others, the need to have a social circle, um, meeting your relationship and sexual needs, the need to translate your ambition into some form of competence. All of these things emerge, and simply pleasing others isn't necessarily going to meet that. And the problem is that, whether he acknowledges it or not, a nice guy operates on the underlying belief that through being pleasing to others, he will get his own needs and his own wants met. And in fact, that's not so nice. It could even be manipulative. It's essentially lying to yourself and lying to others. And that is the root of the problem that I want to explain in this video. It doesn't work, and the problems that emerge from it as these needs and wants go away is that a nice guy is doomed to be frustrated, maybe even resentful of others, resenting the fact that he's not succeeding in life because he's holding himself back. He's had trouble with boundaries with other people. He can easily be walked all over, and that creates a kind of a vicious cycle within the nice guy, where he's almost like this bubbling, simmering pot of resentment and frustration, and he continues. This resentment and frustration continues to perpetuate this nice guy behavior in order to try and get his needs met, but it only creates more resentment and more problems. And that can lead to various things. Just it can be as simple as um, not reaching his potential, or it could be something like an addiction, or he could become suddenly aggressive and violent one day and from seemingly nowhere. It can lead to various problems. So that is, I suppose, the root of the problem that I'm discussing. I can elaborate more on it and elaborate on the book and what I thought about it, but that's about it for now. To discuss the problems with nice guy syndrome, and maybe I'll discuss it more in the future.